Welcome back to another edition of our University of Maryland Smith Alumni Spotlight panel. We got a cool one tonight. My childhood fantasies are coming true because I get to talk with three gentlemen in sports business, talk about a career I wish I could have had. So, guys, I'm so excited to have you three with us here today. We get to talk to old Terps, potentially future Terps, many of your classmates, but most importantly, Parker and I get to nerd out with you all and talk about sports for the next 30 minutes. Thank you all so much for joining us. Now, this is presented by the Smith School and, of course, Parker and myself, Elevation Nation. This wouldn't be Elevation Nation if we didn't start with something I think you all learned at Smith called an elevator pitch, a little bio on who you are. So, Ty, can we start with you? Tell us who you are, man.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of this group here, class of '96. Now breaking into 30 years now, working into sports. Been very blessed to do something I love to do. I was very fortunate to come into an internship with the Braves back in 1996, and that's where it all really kicked off for me. Again, now in my 30th year, I now work for Major League Baseball, but I previously worked for Atlanta, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh in a bunch of different roles within the front office. Was also an evaluator for a lot of years as well. Traveled the globe, getting a chance to see baseball all over, just like our friend Amiel has done as well, whether Japan, Korea, Europe, you name it, all different places. And I've kind of shifted in these last 10 years in my role with Major League Baseball is really just trying to pay it forward as far as I broke in thanks to a program Hank Aaron put together, and it opened up an opportunity for me and so many others. And now I've been able these last 10 years to be involved in helping bring people into the game. Now getting close to 1,000 potential hires that I've been involved with, basically getting people into different roles within the baseball side of our game. So have loved it. Was even before I even joined MLB, I was informally helping people have a group that I started called the Baseball Industry Network. That's housed on LinkedIn. We're also now expanded onto Instagram. We have over 48,000 members that's on LinkedIn. Now we're actually doing some different podcast stuff we're actually putting together right now. That's going to be in the future here. So if you check out the website at baseballindustrynetwork.com, you'll be able to see that. We're going to be growing some things there. Just the great thing about this game, and I know everyone here knows, you cannot be successful by yourself. It has to be others that see something in you and want to help you take that next step. So just trying to continue to do that and help pay it forward for those that are trying to work in baseball potentially.
Well, Tyrone, we are pumped to have you, and I can't wait to hear some of your stories that you've learned and, the wisdom that you have to share. Amiel, let's go to you, the other baseball guy here.
Yeah, similar to Tyrone. I mean, I just a few years younger. I graduated in '99 from Smith, and actually started as a neurobiology major, and that didn't go well. I hit organic chemistry, and then I realized I'm shifting over on the business side. I've always wanted to work in sports, so kind of worked out. Was fortunate to get an internship with the Red Sox. Spent 16 years there. Was lucky to be a part of a few World Series teams, including the 2004. I was just an assistant in the office, but got an opportunity to see the Red Sox break the curse, and then moved over to the Arizona Diamondbacks in my current role as the assistant GM. And I've similar to Ty, I've traveled the world, spent a lot of time on the amateur circuit, just really colleges, high school, draft related scouting, and now involved in every piece of baseball operations. And it's a hard job. It's a fun job. It's a stressful job because you guys know when I'm not feeling good, when we lose like 6 in a row, we're definitely feeling it. So, but you got to love it to work in sports because you spend a lot of hours on it. And I always tell people you can't like it. You got to love it. And yeah, I love what I do.
I'm going to roast Parker here for a minute because that's my favorite thing to do. But I know inside he's freaking out because he's like, back in the day, I was a high school catcher with dreams of going to the MLB. And I just want you both to know, Parker was probably the only starting varsity catcher who was fully cross-eyed for the majority of his life. And now look at him. He was able to start on varsity, not make it to the MLB. But if only you could have had this conversation a decade ago, what could have been.
I should
sorry,
have
Parker,
known
I had
you were
to.
going to bring
You know-
that
you know I was
up.
gonna
I
bring that up.
should have known. Yeah.
We'll share pictures with you all later. Duran, round us out with your elevator pitch, my friend.
Well, I think we also need some Parker highlight tape, maybe from high school to really bring this one home. But thanks for having me, Duran Tamari, and I'm currently the Senior Director of International Marketing and Innovation for Brooklyn Sports and Entertainment, which is the parent organization for the Brooklyn Nets, New York Liberty, Barclays Center, and a couple of other fun things in the area. Simplest thing I'll say in my current role, I try to make fans into tourists and tourists into fans. So we want to try to grow as much as we can our global audiences, try to engage with them, and hopefully at some level monetize them, but really just try to create personalized connections with fans as much as possible. And then ultimately, the people that are coming to New York City, which is the #1 tourist destination in the US, we want to give them a chance to come to Brooklyn, experience what we have to offer, and hopefully, again, create a lifelong connection or fandom from that. So that's what I do. I spent about 10 years in college athletics. After I graduated from the Smith School in 2011, I actually interned for Maryland Athletics, where I got my start. Loved college athletics, and really enjoyed my time there. My last job in college athletics was at the Big Ten Conference right after Maryland joined. So that was just a really fun time to experience it from that perspective. But also I went to every campus, which as a guy that loves college sports was really, really fun. And then spent a couple years in consulting in the sports field, which again allowed me to work with different people, different teams, different organizations all around the world. And then I've been with the, with Brooklyn Sports Entertainment for over 4 years now. But yeah, every day is different. Every day is fun. It is long and hard, and you have to put your time in at the beginning, especially. But I've gotten to do games in Paris and Macau, and talk to fans from every country, and try to make people happy when they come to Brooklyn, and that's really rewarding, and I think part of why we love doing what we do. So, should be a fun conversation tonight.
Looking forward to it. And if you look closely to everyone who's chiming in, I see some Final Four chairs behind you, Duran. What Final Fours are those from? Were you there? Are those the chairs that you actually sat in when you watched the Final Four?
Yes. So as part of my, I just like going to big events. I like experiencing them. So, and I always wanted to work the Final Four. That was like a bucket list thing for me. So my boss from when I worked at Ohio State actually became the head of men's basketball at the Final Four. And she said, "Hey, I need some help. Would you like to come?" And I said, "I'm there." So I went to, there's a women's Final Four and then 3 men's Final Four chairs from 2018. I just dated myself. 2018, 19, 21. And yeah, we had a blast. I got to do all sorts of things, from the scoreboard and everything that you saw when you were in the building, to literally getting all the Hall of Fame inductees lined up on the court and passing out the championship hats to the guys that won. And the buzzer beater I was there for, I think it was Notre Dame. That was insane. So yes, those are the chairs you would actually sit on, and I do not let anybody sit on them now. They're for display purposes only.
That's good. Well, I mean, those were the Jalen Smith years, and unfortunately, our Maryland basketball, men's Terps. We had good teams, never made it. We almost made it last year, I guess, in some way, shape, or form. And this year, rebuild of a year. Speaking of Maryland, speaking of Terps, Sam and I always go back to our time at University of Maryland, through the times that we were brainstorming new business ideas in the Smith School or walking into Bentley's to have a good time with friends. Amiel, let's start with you. Are there any experiences or moments from your time at Maryland that kind of shaped you into who you are today and that you've taken along all these years later?
Oh, well, I will say that there's definitely one that I go back to that's a fun story to tell, but more on a business perspective and not an educational perspective. But when I got to Maryland, keep going with the Maryland basketball theme, but when I got to Maryland, the Terps were really good. I remember we didn't have a ton of red in the crowd, and kids would wear all different colors: white, black, yellow. Nobody really wore a ton of red. So I decided to take it on upon myself and with a couple other guys, and we made T-shirts. We made these red Terp shirts that are still, like, people still wear them, which is amazing. And we were selling them. This was pre 9/11, so we would take bags into the game with shirts and sell them in Cole Fieldhouse, and every kid wanted them. Lines of people. And then we were told not to sell them inside Cole, so we sold them outside of Cole. And then the campus police told us to get off campus. We couldn't sell them there. And so we sold them, no joke, at the light at Route 1. When you get off the highway, we would walk down down the kind of the ramp and sell them there until we legitimately were told by the PG County police, that we weren't allowed to sell there anymore either. So we sold a ton of shirts throughout. It was probably the one thing I go back to and I laugh about now. Like, I infringed 3 or 4 copyrights on this T-shirt. Definitely helped me grow my business acumen and my business sense. Not, if my kids were doing it right now, I'm not sure I would tell them that I would allow them to do it. But it's one piece of history, Maryland history, for me, that everybody kind of points to when they talk about what we've done at Maryland. And it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I didn't get in trouble. So hopefully nobody listening is going to come back and get me in trouble. But that, I do remember that, and that's definitely something that outside of the business school, the great education I got from the business school, that was one thing that stays with me.
I mean, did you really go to college if you didn't push the envelope in some way, right? Isn't that the whole point? We're testing
Yeah.
limits here. That's what it's about. That's a great
Well,
story.
the I think at the end of the day, when I think it's like one of my most proud moments when I see, or one of my friends' most proud moments when they see one of the shirts still in the stands. So
Yeah. Oh, I love that. The Cole Fieldhouse days
yeah.
throwback. Anyone else got a good story or lesson that they learned from being at Maryland?
I got a couple here. Just as far as, like, obviously Maryland athletics was extremely important to me and everybody here. Just having that vibe of it all. I worked for the Diamondback and school newspaper, and also the Terrapin yearbook. So I got a firsthand view as a photographer for pretty much all 5 years I was at Maryland. So I got a chance to be at different events, NCAA tournaments, covering stuff on the road. I almost feel like I lived like a double life while I was in college, because I had the part of being in the Smith School and stuff I was doing on the business side, and then jetting to Duke or North Carolina back when we were in the ACC. It seemed like every weekend or every other weekend doing different things, covering pretty much every sport. During that era, had the Joe Smith era during that bit as well. We were going to the Final Four. Actually, not final, but going to the Sweet 16 during that period, which actually, because it was pre 9/11, it was funny. The photographer that was originally scheduled to be in Dallas that year, I didn't find out until I basically got to the airport that they didn't have the ticket was not in my name, because it was for somebody else originally, and literally got on the airplane back then with a ticket that was in somebody else's name. And then when we got to the arena, again, my credential wasn't even in my name. Basically made up a story and ended up getting a credential, and it was right there on the court. So, but then, fast forward a little bit, my boss when I was with Atlanta, Roy Clark, who unfortunately passed away not long ago last year, he was a big Tar Heel guy. He was a North Carolina guy. And back in 2002, when Maryland made the Final Four, we had a bet. He basically said if Maryland made it to the Final Four, he would find a way to make sure I could get there. And I was in the Midwest at the time as an area scout, and I was living in Kansas City, and I had Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota as my territory. So I was originally going to try to drive literally to Atlanta, and he called me literally the day before. Roy said, "Hey man, go ahead. We'll fly you down. I'll have you see a couple of games in the area, and then that's how we'll cover the expense of it all." And ended up, I got him right out on a flight from Kansas City, and all the Kansas fans were all on the flight because they were coming there for the Final Four. Get there. I actually had a house in Atlanta at the time, but so I like immediately just dropped off some stuff. I went right to the arena, saw the practices for a little bit. Then I went up to North Georgia to see a game. Ended up seeing a couple guys. Actually, one guy that ended up playing in the big leagues with the Pirates when I was there. Actually played with the Red Sox too. I mean, you remember Brandon? John, like the outfielder. God,
Brandon Moss.
Yeah, Brandon Moss. He was actually the guy I went to see, and he was matched up against another guy, and that guy had a shoulder issue, so he didn't even pitch that game. So I did that, saw that game. The next day, I was scheduled to see Jeremy Hermida, who ended up getting picked in the first round, but his game got rained out, so I was done for the whole rest of the weekend. And so I ended up saw Maryland play, obviously, that Saturday. The Sunday after Maryland won, actually, I didn't even have a ticket for the championship game, so the Kansas fans were all rolling out of there, and they were basically almost just giving away their tickets, basically. So I bought some from somebody there. Sunday was ended up being back when Chris Webber was with the Kings. They were playing in Atlanta. Ended up seeing them and sat pretty much like courtside for that game, which was amazing. And then to top it off, Monday, which was the championship day, it was also opening day of the season in Atlanta. So saw opening day, watched us play, and then that night watched Maryland cut down the nets, and it was just an incredible moment to have that. And it was just an amazing weekend. And it's funny, that Monday actually, which was one of my players who was one of the top guys in my area, my boss, Roy Clark, who I mentioned, he actually flew to Kansas City to watch that guy play, which Amiel ended up being John Mayberry Jr. when he was in high school.
Oh yeah.
Who ended up playing for the Phillies and a couple other clubs. So
Awesome.
it was just crazy to have that whole experience. And thankfully, Roy was just great at allowing me to do that, which I'll never forget.
That's incredible. And a good boss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'll go back to just say that the biggest thing I think I learned when I was at Maryland and the Smith School was to try everything and anything. So even what Ty mentioned about being involved in a bunch of stuff, I was very similar. I almost was like class was one of the last things I I did. Like I did, but I was a tour guide. I had a radio show. I interned for anything and everything I could. I did stuff in like the government and politics field too, because again, I was like, we're in DC area. Like, why not try? And it was all about broadening my horizons, making connections, figuring out what I wanted to do. I knew from basically age 7, I was going to work in sports. It just was a matter of in what capacity. Cause I knew playing was not going to be the function that would get me in. But my dad even said like, we would go to games and I would ask him a million questions about the sponsors and who paid for this and why I did this. And he was like, I don't know. Like, I know basketball. I can tell you the rules and like why this team is not good at defense and the pick and roll, but like I have no idea why Dunkin' Donuts is there and Sprite is here. So it was something that just from day one, I was like, okay, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to meet as many people as I can. I'm going to figure out what I want to do with my life. And that to me was the best part, was you had a chance to do it on campus and in the area. And, it definitely put me again out of my comfort zone, gaining different skills, and a lot of what I then ended up doing in my career really just started when I was at Maryland. Even getting into college athletics, my first mentor was my boss at Maryland. She's actually still at Maryland. in the athletic department. And when I met her, she was, I think, assistant director of marketing. And now she is senior associate athletic director for external relations, Carrie Blankenship, who's an incredible person. And we still hang out and chat all the time, almost, again, I don't want to make myself feel old, but almost 15 plus years later. So, Maryland was just a great breeding ground, petri dish to try things, and a launch pad, which I think is the key for college, right? You want to learn what you want to do, what you're passionate about, and then put yourself in position to do it. And I think that was the best part for me, for sure.
But before Sam asks the next question, when was the last time you guys have been down to College Park, by the way?
I actually went 2023. Maryland had Matt Shaw,
Right.
who's with the Cubs, and I went to scout him, and then went through his student union and went looking for the Knox boxes that aren't around anymore.
Looks a little different, doesn't it?
Knox
I was
is
like, what happened
Knox is a
here?
different universe. Yeah.
It was like it had been probably 15 years, maybe a little less, but like it was completely different. The only thing that were standing out there were the towers, the College Park towers, the apartment buildings.
Yep.
Everything else was brand new.
Yeah. I actually took my son. This was a full circle moment. My son is 3 years old.
Class of 44. Right?
Class of 44, yep.
Got it.
And I go back to I'm in New Jersey, so for me to go to College Park is not too difficult. So I did go a decent amount, but I hadn't been back in a minute. And in November, I took my wife and my son, and we drove down, and through some connections, which is nice to have, I was able to get us on the field before the football game during homecoming. And my son is on my shoulders. We actually walked through the football tunnel from Jones Hill House onto the field. And I don't know who was having more fun. My wife would tell you it was definitely me, because I got to bring my son to see my campus, and we just walked around, and I did like a photo shoot with him, and I threw him up in the air, and he still talks about the band and Testudo, and I got him a jersey, and it was like that to me was, I'm not sure if I'll top that trip for many years, but that was a really fun one that I got to do.
Yeah, I'll say with me, it's funny how it literally took me about 27 years to make my way back home. I would occasionally come back for a game or two here and there when I was visiting, but I now have a place in Annapolis, Maryland. So I get back and I get a chance to get on campus and connect with those at the Smith School, also those within the Shanwald Sports Management Program as well. And so it's great. I got a chance in the fall to see a couple of games. I was also back in the fall. I was in Phoenix at the time. We were we have a scouting and coaching development program in MLB that we put on. And it turned out while I was out west, Maryland was playing UCLA in football. And the guys I work with say, hey, man, you've never been to the Rose Bowl. You just got to go ahead and make sure you go. So I went ahead, went out there. Thanks to Dean Cananan and the rest of the Smith School, I had a chance to connect with a bunch of them. They took us out to a nice meal, and everything was great there. I had a nice steakhouse, and also was a guest of them at the game, and enjoyed just a great tailgate as well, which I had with some of my college buddies who also made the trip out there, which was really fun. So just to get and see the Maryland family and see so many people coming out, which was really, really exciting for that particular weekend. Wish the game would have been a different result of us winning that game. It was close. We had a chance, but fortunately didn't work out. But again, just had a great time to get a chance to see a bunch of people and also just enjoy the vibe of it all. So definitely I love getting a chance to give back and get to the campus and talk to folks and see how we can help as many students find their pathway. Thanks to so many within, I'm also a part of the advisory board they have for the 1-year management program within the Smith School as well. So getting a chance to work good with that the council as well has been really, really great. And just having a chance to be part of, providing a voice and also just kind of sharing about different opportunities. So love the opportunity to give back in any way possible.
It's funny when I go back on campus, I also was a tour guide back in the day, and I can't name probably 25% of the buildings anymore. I don't know where anything is. I don't know what's going on, but it looks beautiful. Thank you, Big Ten funding and alumni donations, for making College Park an even more incredible place to go to school. I want to start to close out talking about business with something Parker and I love. We're on the cutting edge of technology, or at least we pretend to be in our full-time jobs. So we want to ask you guys doing the cool jobs, what's a trend that you guys are excited about that's making your line of work more innovative, more interesting, or more efficient?
And 1 million bonus points if you don't use AI as the
I was about to
answer.
say, Parker's chomping at the bit there.
Well, that makes it a lot harder. Yeah.
I think the easy answer is AI, right? But the biggest challenge we've come up with, or that we've seen, is like AI is okay. It's the sexy topic. Everybody can use it. I think everybody's using it to some capacity. Does it actually help do something where you're either more efficient or better than you? I would love to hear your guys' response if you were going to say AI. For me, I'm going to I'll use it as a kind of launching pad because I work on the more fan-facing side of things. And the biggest thing that I'm interested in, AI is going to be part of it, but it's personalization. And we have seen a lot of, it's not a new topic, but I think technology is now really allowing us to provide people with personalized content or things of interest. And there's like the Big Brother spyware, whatever, like, yes, that's an element of it. But at the same time, what we're trying to do is give people things that are relevant to them, or to make something that is unique that, again, would be of interest. So for example, if we have a 60-minute video clip that we've got this great footage, but I can create, using AI and using personalization software, a French version for our fans in France that focuses on Nolan Traore, a rookie of ours from France. And then I can make the same thing in Hebrew for Ben Saraf fans Nets fans in Israel, for another rookie that we have. And then I can create a 6-minute and a 12-minute and a 20-minute version, because we have so many different demographics of people that like to consume content in different ways. Well, now we are, taking something that we already had and we would have been doing anyways, but we are now extending the lifespan and creating personalization, engagement, and creating relevance for people in what they would want. So I'm excited to see, again, how we can leverage, yes, AI, but it's the creativity and the human piece of it, of thinking like, okay, what does the consumer actually want? How does this actually benefit them? Not just the buzzword of efficiency and, gains and whatever. Like, that's great. But I really want it to be something impactful and meaningful to the consumer. And I think that's going to be content and sports, especially, like how we take the offerings now and make them really unique and like, again, actually beneficial. So that's what I'm personally excited for.
Super
But yeah,
cool.
would love to hear you guys how you're using it in your line of work, which is probably a little bit different behind the scenes.
Yeah, so I think I got cut off with the first half of the question, but I think I understand where you guys are going with it. You're for me, or for us, I mean, not trying to go down the AI path. I think the one of the areas that is probably um, it grows every year, and is probably the most exciting, is where like baseball lands in with emerging technologies. And so we have instant feedback with all these tools now that players have access to. And every organization, if not everyone, I'd say 2/3 of them, have hitting and pitching labs that are at players' fingertips. And so they could throw a pitch and see all their data up on a big screen or on an iPad in a bullpen session. And, whether it's just changing the grip on a pitch or changing the way they're throwing a pitch, some sort of, even if it's just a slight wrist change, they could see how that's affecting the spin and how that's affecting the movement. And I think that's kind of that's been very generic, or it's probably been the way people have been in baseball have all adopted the pitch development. But I think as you start to you dive deeper into it, it's now into the biomechanical world. And so we have force plates all over the place that can, guys can swing off of a force plate. They're standing on a plate that just tells them where their force is coming from. And if they're not using their backside, or if they're using their arms more than their legs. And then, we have a tool called Kinetitrax that gives you kind of frame by frame biomechanical, almost like skeletons of what your swing might look like, and and what your delivery might look like. And it can easily rectify problems, like, let's just say, game to game problems that a pitcher might have, just by looking through the Kinetitrax data. We're able to, instead of using just a coach's eyes or a scout's eyes, now we have a lot of objective feedback that we can get back right after the game to help us try to remedy those problems. And every year it's like there's a new tool, and you're like, oh man, I got to spend another 200 grand on this. And it's crazy, because I think it's probably an endless amount of technology that we can actually invest in. It's whether or not we can understand and articulate the information back to our players, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Is like, you can have the technology, but if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't matter. And so it's so exciting to actually find people that understand it and can help our players get better from the Dominican up to the big leagues. But it's an area that I think I'm very excited about, and I think everyone in baseball certainly is.
Yeah, I mean, else he hit it right on the head. I mean, he's nailed it. I mean, really, with the technology that's out there, everything so much in our game is very much data driven. There's still value as far as individuals and having their subjective experiences still as far as scouts, but again, there's a lot of data that's out there, and also in part of my role, which is really trying to make sure individuals are well aware of what technology is out there and how that's being used, to make sure that they have a better feel for those that are trying to break in, make sure they're equipped going into the interview process to know, hey, what things are out there, what things are trending, making sure they're staying abreast of those different aspects of the game that are continuing to be developed and continue to, one, create more pathways into our game of baseball. So just trying to make sure that we're helping individuals to make sure they understand what's out there, and then also how that can help separate them in the process of being vetted to come into the industry. It's very popular, and people want to be in our industry, but it's also, you've got to make sure you're prepared and ready and equipped to put yourself in position to be successful. And it's continuing to evolve each and every year, as Amiel was talking about, with new tools that come out there, and all of a sudden, pretty much there are a lot of things in our game, which I like to say is sort of a copycat. But once people see something, somebody else is going to grasp that same aspect and see what they can do, maybe to even make it even better. And it just obviously provides even more of an avenue for companies to come out with newer and newer products that can now take advantage of new things that come together each and every year.
Do you guys? I'm just wondering, because I'm a sports fan, right? I don't work on the ops side of things, but I'm just wondering, do you think there's like a diminishing return, or where it's too much, and sometimes maybe you get focused on the numbers and all the tools and all the things, and there's like a balance to strike with the old school and new school approaches?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I mean, at least from my perspective, I mean, we have a nice blend. We spend a lot of time, a lot of money in our people. And so, I think there was this like kind of seismic shift towards like, oh man, we have to go straight objective by a number of organizations. And then I think it started shifting back towards is the competitive advantage to now go hire the best coaches, and the group, a group of people with like soft skills that can also understand the technology and articulate it. Because at the end of the day, the player he doesn't care how he gets better, right? he needs somebody to make him feel good too. And the data can't talk to you, right? The data can help you, but you also need, whether it's a coach or a scout or whatever, but that person to help articulate, help that player understand exactly what he needs to do, and then reinforce that on a daily basis and let him know, yeah, you've gotten to this point. It's not just the data, but I'm seeing it too. And so, they there is definitely a need for really good, um, I'd say like compassionate teachers across the game. And also, from my perspective on the scouting side, we still need that. Like, we can't just, the data can give you a lot, but it can't paint the full picture. It can't go into a player's house as an amateur and tell you what his mom and dad are like. It can't tell you what makes him tick. It can't tell you the competitive edge, which I think is a really important part. And so there's a need for the blend. And I think that's a lot of organizations still see that too. And some probably lean heavily one way or the other. I think we're probably more a very, very balanced organization.
Yeah,
Sam,
basically with having your people, what's your process, all the information, how are you kind of really using that together, in any particular way? And obviously with um, success at Amiel and the group that they've had there, they've proven that it does work. And it's good to see when you do see that type of a system where people understand the relationships and the people that they have in the organization, in addition to the data and how they're going about using that.
Totally. Technology is progressing. It's helping us optimize towards perfection, even though I believe perfection is not a real thing. We get close to it, but certainly you can't find it any day. But it's the human element that we're adding to any part of, whether it's Sam dealing with a bank that he's working with, or you guys working with your athletes or sports teams and whatnot. Great conversation. I love that segment. We know we've gone for 35 minutes. We got a couple rapid fire fun questions for you guys, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So my first rapid fire, and just first thing that comes to mind, what is a place on campus that you have like just a core memory from? What's the core memory and what's the place?
I hate to say this, but I spent a lot of hours in the South Campus dining hall. One, there was back then when I was there, we had to develop our film, all the photography stuff I was doing. So truly being how many hours I spent in a darkroom during the course of my 5 years at Maryland was pretty incredible. They literally went color right when I graduated. So it's just nuts to think about that. I even literally one year covered Maryland Duke in basketball, had to catch a flight to get back to College Park in order to develop the film. Obviously now that takes literally 5-10 minutes. They upload, bam, everything's there. It's just amazing all the effort we literally had to do back then. But again, obviously now so much is built up. But that's for me. I just when I look at that, anytime I'm even near the Smith School and Van Munching Hall, I like look across there. I'm like, man, how much time I literally spent there.
That's amazing. Yeah, now I just think how many pictures you have on your phone. I'll do two quick ones. For me, Xfinity Center, the night we beat Duke to win the ACC in 2010. I was like 1-11 against Duke in my 4 years on campus. So that one I will never forget. I was seeing us, all rush the court. I was just crying. It was awesome. Gravis with that runner. That was like honestly one of the best basketball games I've ever experienced in my life. And I've been lucky to experience a lot. The other one, my 21st birthday, 4 a.m. at McKeldin, the fountain. We all jumped in the fountain, took off our clothes, jumped in the fountain. There's one photo somewhere. To Tyrone's point, it's an actual physical photograph. I have no idea who owns it, who has it, but that was an epic night I will never forget, and I can kind of not remember. So it's a good combo.
Yeah, I think most of my core memories are at Cole Fieldhouse, and Cole Fieldhouse used to be open during the day, and so you could walk in and in between classes, I would go in and watch practice while I, was kind of doing whatever I needed to do for work if I had a couple hours. and I got aside from watching games, I got a chance to watch Gary yell at the players the same way in practice that he does in a game, and it's something I'll always remember. Just how I mean, he was so just excited about teaching and mentoring these kids that it was the same compassion and aggression during the practice that it is during the game.
It's awesome.
I love those memories. I won't embarrass Parker and talk about his 21st birthday. I'll save that for after the pod. All right.
Did we jump
Last
in
rapid-
the fountain too? I was like, I don't remember.
No comment. No comment. Last rapid fire, gents. Want to be respectful of your time here. If you can't be in the stadium or the arena in College Park for a big game, where's the place on campus that you want to watch that game?
Bentley's. Is that
This might
considered
be
on campus?
Yeah, Bentley's counts.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say. So
This might be a generational thing because I'm a Seastone guy. Bent's is fun, but I was a Seastone guy, especially the Loft.
there you go.
But the happy hour at Seastone for me was unbeatable. So I'm going to go with Seastone.
Ty.
Can I just be in somebody's like apartment, just chilling?
Fair enough.
Together?
Yeah, you can be-
That's
of course.
the best thing.
Yeah.
South Campus Dining Hall.
There you go. I love it. Gents, this was incredible. Obviously, Parker and I can't thank you enough on behalf of us, Elevation Nation, but more importantly, University of Maryland and the Smith School of Business. We're just honored to still have you guys in our alumni network. You show the power of the Terps across the globe. And certainly we are so proud of you three for following your dreams, being in sports business, making an impact on the community, and giving back to all of us Terps. So on behalf of Smith School, on behalf of Maryland, thank you guys for your time. And tune in next time to our next Smith Alumni Spotlight.